This is Courtney Tillia, and you are listening to the Tanya Tate Presents Skinfluencer Success podcast.
This is Tanya Tate. Skinfluencer Success.
You are listening to the Tanya Tate Presents Skinfluencer Success. How can you take your career into a spicy direction on your own? My guest did just that. She is a world-renowned personality and brand, known across the globe for being a former school teacher turned published top model who holds nothing back. She can be seen in publications such as TMZ, Maxim, People, Barstool Sports, The Dr. Phil Show, and The Breakfast Club. She is not only a model, but a mother of four, a wife, and a life coach for women. Welcome, Courtney Tillia, to the Skinfluencer Success podcast.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me.
I did it. I was like, there was a lot of text in that intro. I love it.
Yeah.
It's you give me so much. I'm so excited to talk to you, Courtney.
Thank you. Me too. I'm excited to be here.
Yay! It's great because I met you. We were at a friend's birthday party. It was CJ Sparks, and it was their birthday party. And I went there and I was like, oh, I don't know any of these people. I don't know anyone. But we got talking and I was like, I really I really love the conversation that we were having.
Yeah, it was so good. We just immediately hit it off and had so many things in common. It was really great. Grateful to meet you there.
Yes, so am I. I'm so glad that I went. I talk about a lot of stuff on the podcast, and I do like an audio part before I do the guest part. And I talked about that date. I was like, I kept saying to things, oh, I'm not going to go. And then I went, you know what? I'm going to go. And I really pushed myself out of my comfort zone to be up late. I'm not up late. I was like, I'm pushing myself. And look what we have because I pushed myself.
I know. It's amazing too, because I do that a lot of times where I'm like, I'm not going to do it. And then you go and you meet people and you have a great time. And yeah, it always works out.
Yeah, I'm so glad. You've got loads to tell us about. So let's start off. Who is Courtney Tillia before you became that OnlyFans creator model that you are now?
Yeah, I was your average person, average woman. I graduated high school, went to Arizona State, became a special education teacher, got a job right out of college and started teaching special ed. I met my husband there. That's a little scandalous though. He was essentially the vice principal there, and I was a first-year teacher. But I was just an average. We ended up having kids and getting married. And we're still together to this day. But I was just like your school teacher. I went and got a master's degree. I was just living a very kind of average life, broke life, and pretty happy in many areas and very just kind of going with the flow and becoming increasingly unhappy because I was so unfulfilled career-wise. And that was starting to have a huge impact. So it's just kind of your average person.
I'm looking at you now and you're really beautiful and you've got curves.
Thank you.
And, you can tell there's natural beauty there,
Thank you.
And
yeah.
So when you were a teacher, did you have the curves? Did you stand out?
So I didn't have breast implants at the time, but I've always been curvy, hips, butt, little waist. I've always just been curvy. I haven't had work done to my face besides my teeth. But so pretty much everything's very similar to how I was as a teacher. And, I did get a lot of attention and did get dress coded because things just fit my body differently than they do other people. And so there was a Friday, and every Friday you could wear a polo. So I'm nothing crazy, a polo buttoned up and jeans. And the CFO of the school came up to me, and we'd never even had a conversation before. We've never even chatted, nothing. She walked from her office to my classroom to dress code me because they needed a female to do it. And so it was just always kind of that kind of stuff where things just fit different. You're getting attention because you look different. And yeah.
It's sad really, isn't it? Because you've got the exact same clothes on as 5 other people. But it's okay.
It was a big school. There were there was a few, maybe 60, 70 teachers. It wasn't just me.
all
But
wearing the
yeah,
same. And it's like, well, we
all
better
wearing
go
the
and
same
have a
thing.
word with Courtney.
Yep. They're like, those jeans are just hugging that ass way too much.
Do you know what? You always think it's once you get in the adult industry, you always think, oh, that's, when you're going to get, targeted to be treated differently. But you don't realize actually there are people in like an average job that are also getting the same treatment. And it's based on purely how you look.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of unfair.
It's crazy.
But
I wanted so badly to wear leggings. I was like so bad wanted to wear, like, we couldn't, it was against the like school's dress code, but I was like, one of the reasons I wanted to leave, one of many, 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 was so that I could wear what I wanted to wear.
I have a little boy and I do the school run. I'll go to the gym and I'm in yoga pants and a crop top. And
Yeah,
it's like, it's a crop top like this style. And I go to the gym in it, no problem. I get by the school and I'm walking and I'm like, oh, I forgot that I'm wearing these clothes. And you become like super conscious as when you're
I
walking
know.
down. And I'm like, who's going to be looking at me? Like, and I always think like, sometimes I think some of the mums must be like looking and being like, why is she wearing that?
Yeah. Yeah, nobody's ever said anything to me about it because like, sometimes I'll throw like a little jacket on or whatever, so it's not like because I'm like out there. But yeah, no one's ever said anything to me about it.
You know what? It's good because we should, as long as it's, we're actually wearing clothes that are covering everything.
Yeah.
Years ago, I had a friend. I've still got her as a friend. But I remember one time I wasn't with her, but she went to Disneyland and I saw the pictures of her in Disneyland. And I was like, is that top see-through? And she'd gone with like a see-through top. And I don't know whether she realized or what. And I was just like, I was looking, no, that's a problem.
That's wow. I'm surprised they allowed that because they will have you change there.
Yeah, I think it was maybe it was just on the photograph, the way the light was coming
Yeah.
through. But I was just like, ooh. So you're doing your school job, it's
Yep.
monotonous, it's boring, you're getting told, you're not wearing the right dress code. So how did you make that move from being a teacher into transitioning into a non-conventional career path?
Yeah. So it started while I was still teaching. I was started competing in bodybuilding shows. So I was taking some progress pics. My husband was taking progress pics, and then we were having a great time doing that. And like he was running my Instagram at the time. And so he would post my progress pics on there. And then we were just having a great time. And he would take my photos. They were getting a little sexier and a little funner. And so he's posting those. My Instagram at that time was private, and I went by Courtney Lynn so that my students couldn't find me. And then one day the school had auto saved everything that people were looking at online to the school server. So anybody who's connected to the school's Wi-Fi and looking at anything, Instagram, it would save to the school server. So they had all of my photos from my Instagram. And at that time, Instagram's community guidelines were much more lax, where you could be fully nude, implied, hand bra, things like that. And so the school didn't actually talk to me about it. They talked to my husband about it. And my husband's like, we're not going to change. It's not an issue. Her account's private, goes by a different name. And that was it. I was never fired, never anything else other than that. And then he left teaching. I did one more year of teaching, and that's when it got
Mhm.
really hard for me. I was just depressed and anxious and really unhappy. And my husband came to me one day and he was like, this can't continue like this. Like, this isn't going to work.
Mhm.
If you could do anything all day, what would you do? And I was so removed from myself and had no clue of anything that I even liked, a hobby, anything. I didn't really even know the answer to his question, but I said, I guess I would go to the gym and work out because that's all I know. And he was like,
Yeah.
great, quit your job, go to the gym, start personal training. And so I did that. I resigned the following Monday, finished out the school year, and started doing personal training. Was doing my modeling kind of stuff at the same time, which was just home modeling, nothing super crazy. And yeah, that's when that kind of started to take off.
So it's like the pictures were kind of getting sexier and sexier.
Yeah, and I had never even done a professional shoot. It was all stuff that we were taking at home. and just posting on Instagram. And then while I was still teaching, people had started DMing and being like, can I buy some like private content? And this is obviously way before OnlyFans existed.
Hmm.
And people would be like, can I pay like, $300 for a couple minute video? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I grew up super religious. So I was just like, I don't know about this. It's crazy. But at the same time, I'm like, man, $300, like that's like what I make as a teacher with a master's degree almost. Like it takes me a couple days to make that. And
Yeah.
so we did a couple of those, and then I was like, well, that's actually kind of fun and like make some like good little money. Um,
Yeah.
and so we started kind of selling content through like Snapchat and social media before
Yeah.
OnlyFans even had started.
So once OnlyFans started coming around, you was already like, I'm already doing this, and now there's an actual official platform where I can be like,
Yeah.
hey, just go there, and it makes
Yeah.
it a whole lot easier because you've got your vault, you've got a whole load of back end area where you can upload all the content ready for
Yeah.
when the fans ask.
Yeah.
So
I
you,
joined in 2019 before the pandemic because I was becoming increasingly frustrated with Instagram and their guidelines were becoming more and more strict. And I was like, I
mhm,
have so many beautiful photos that I wanted to share that I couldn't. And I was like, where can I do that? I started seeing people posting about OnlyFans. And so I talked to my husband. I was like, what do you think about it? And he's like, absolutely do it. And I was like, it'd be really cool if I could make like $500 a month because then like that's like car payment. We live in LA, like $500 is great side money. And my very first month I made 1,500 and I was like, well, this is pretty great. This is fun. It's from content I was already making anyway. So
yeah. So it
yeah.
just kind of went from there. So
Yeah.
you are now you're posting content on your OnlyFans, you've got your Instagram, you've got your social media, but you're also a mom and a wife. So talk to me about that. I know what it's like to be a mom and
Yeah.
be a content creator, but what's it like for you? I've got one kid. You have four,
For
four children. How do you
it's
do it?
people always ask that question. I'm like, man, I don't even really know the answer to that because I just like I do it and I keep going and I love it so much that I think I get so much energy from that. They go to school during the day, and so like I will
Mhm.
create my ideal situation is they go to school and I create content while they're gone. Obviously, sometimes scheduling doesn't work out that way, and I do have shoots and collabs in the afternoons, evenings, weekends, whatever. But I think it's easier than people think it is just because, like, I'm actually not working a 9 to 5. Like, I feel like I actually have so much more freedom than you think. Like, when I was a teacher, I felt like it was so much harder because not only did I work 9 to 5, but then I had to come home and do paperwork and do mom stuff, and I was actually going to school to get my master's and my PhD. And so I was like, that actually seemed harder than it is now. Don't get me wrong,
Ah,
I work hard and I work a lot, but
yeah,
it's different. It's
yeah,
different because it's something that I love and I enjoy, and I get to create my own schedule.
yeah. So it's just about balancing the schedule out.
Yeah.
It's like for me and you choosing a time for the podcast to record it. I'm like,
We went through like 4
um,
times.
um, let me just have a little look. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, we'll do this. And then something come up, but I don't even know what it was. I'm like, okay, let's just like reschedule. But you've always got to do it, when are the kids going to be at school?
Yeah.
And then like if someone's like, can we push it back? And I'm just like, you did not do that to me. But
Yeah.
like, can we push
I'm
it
like, "You
back?
clearly don't have children."
I'm like, no, I can't push it back. I'm like, yeah. Do you want it? Like, we've had that door busting open before. Like, that's my front door. We've had the door busting open right at the end. I was
Yep.
like, okay, we just need to just do the wrap up really fast again. Get in over there. Go
Yep.
in your bedroom.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
get creative. And even like during the pandemic when everybody's home, you get creative, right? Like where there's a will, there's a
Yeah.
way. And like you're like all of a sudden sorry that for the last, year I've had mostly shower content. Sorry about that. But you know what?
Sometimes it's like, You're like, this is what it's got to be. Sometimes I'm literally thinking, I'm just going to have to go and book a hotel just to
No, I
shoot
do that.
content.
I do that a lot because for me too, like it's worth it financially, right? Because like I can make
Mm,
a ton of content in a short amount of time and I can release it over, a period that like my husband and I did the math on it, like one hotel per week for a month, like is so worth it financially,
yeah.
time-wise, and you can like book collabs. Yeah, that's actually one of my techniques that I do is like book a hotel.
Do you know what? We're booking a hotel. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the
Courtney
way. It's the
saying.
way. I'm telling you, because I originally I looked at even like getting a studio in Los Angeles, and I was like, it just like doesn't make financial sense to have this like studio sitting, not with prices here. Um, so yeah, a
Yeah.
hotel's a great way. So yeah, there's so many creative ways to make content even with kids around, like
Hmm.
bedroom, showers, book a hotel. Yeah.
Yeah. You just get out there. So,
Yep.
obviously your husband, you were very, talking to your husband through every step of the way that you building your career. What about your family, your children? Do they know what you do? And, how did you approach it with them?
So the older ones do. Actually, the oldest one, she's 22. She works for us because I have our life coaching programs, and then I have an OnlyFans training course, and she does all the back end of that, uploading
Oh,
courses,
no.
designing the website. So she actually works for us. So it's very clear what I do. And they're so amazing and open-minded kids that they're like, whatever makes you happy, if you love it. They've seen me as a teacher. They actually went to the same school that I taught at. And so they've seen me as a teacher and they've seen me now and how much happier and more freedom. It's a win for them too because we were broke back then and now we have money to actually like do things like go to concerts and things like that. And so they're just very supportive and like do what makes you happy. They don't
That's
ask a lot
good.
of questions, but didn't when I was a teacher. Like I think nobody really cares what your parent does for a living and no one really wants the details of that. And then for the younger ones, it's very age appropriate. So they know that mom models, but they've known that again their whole lives because I've been going to photo
Mm,
shoots since they were like 3 and 4. And
yeah.
that like mom packs a bag and goes and does a shoot. And we have giant poster nudes of me in the living room where it's just me and some rose petals. And so we think it's really important to teach them the beauty in the female body and that there's no shame and
Mm.
having conversations like that. So they're growing up to be very open-minded.
I love that. My son is 5. He'll be almost 6 on his next birthday. So I'm like, at some point, I'm going to have to sit down and have the conversation.
Yeah.
But I do live streams, so like Instagram Live and YouTube Live, and he's around and he'll come and he'll
Yeah.
sit on. But I'm like, you got to have the admins there. Like I put like, people that are like really loyal fans, I stick them on as admins, and I'm like looking at the message, and you have to delete it really quick because I go, it's a family friendly,
Yeah.
it's family friendly on here, and they're like, "Do, do, 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 do." Like, why would you write
Why?
that?
Yeah.
What is up with you? This is what part of family friendly do you not understand?
They don't
Like,
understand. This is not the
no,
platform for that.
I'm going to come back to you at some point later because obviously we're going to. I've got a feeling this is a start of a really good friendship. Um,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
when I have questions about approaching it, I think I'm going to
Yeah.
come to you because you've
Yeah.
been there, you've done that, and it's we have to. You're right in that it's not shameful what your parents do. Like there
Yeah.
will be other parents that are sitting here right now, whether you are a content creator yourself and you're a parent, or whether you've got nieces or nephews, or whether you're a fan and you subscribe to the content. There's a lot of parents out there, and there's no shame in watching it or performing in it. Like
Yes.
we as adults, we are not, we're not doing it in front of children. It's all
No.
extremely appropriate. So I believe
Consensual,
that.
safe. Like there's so much, it's so much It's actually very incredible and beautiful. Like I said, I grew up religious, and so like religion told me like porn stars are terrible people and they're going to hell and like they're drugged out and they had no other options available in their life and terrible, terrible things. And then as I was getting into the industry, I was like, wait, they lied to me. Like it's the complete opposite, right? Like incredible people, so kind, so generous, super safe because you actually have communication and talk about what you're good with, what you're not good with, how your body is like all kinds of conversations. You're actually getting tested and not just like, I hope so. I haven't been tested in 5 years, right? Like it's actually like so much better than like I was told. And I was like, anyways, all that to say, I think that the world sometimes makes us out to be predators. And that's just so not the case. And that's one of my big messages too, is to show like I'm very educated, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and to show like it's not what you've been told it is.
That's so true. That like I'm gonna hold my hands up. There are people in our industry that come in that might be dependent on drugs
Sure.
or alcohol. There are people. However, there are people like that in life. There are
There's
people like
people
that
and
in
there's teachers like that.
industries.
Like that's yeah, like that's not that's a those are the dark parts in any industry that we can clean up and bring awareness to. And that's
Mhm.
literally in every industry there is that. I knew
Yeah.
teachers that were, doing crazy things that, people wouldn't necessarily be happy about, but
Mhm.
yeah.
We are targeted, but I
Yeah.
love it. It's like it's about education and us sitting here now and telling the listeners like we are here because we want to be here. We're not
Yes.
trafficked. We're not
Mm-mm.
like forced. No one's telling us what to do. We are our own women. We are our own boss, and we are doing the things that we like to do. And I love
Yes.
that we have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah. And we own our own content. Like I with OnlyFans as a platform, like it's really given us a lot of our power back to like create what we
Mhm.
want, how we want, when we want. And owning those our rights to our stuff. Like I feel like it's been a very empowering journey for me.
It is. It definitely is. I've got to ask Courtney, have you shot anything for any of like the mainstream professional
I
studios?
have not. I have not.
So everything that you've done, you own. It's like it's smart. Well, people will be thinking, oh, you go and shoot. Like many years ago, I shot for all of the major studios, and so all my old content's out there. But what the fans don't always realize is that I was paid one fee for it, and it can get
Yeah.
reposted, resold, rebranded. There's a new DVD compilation coming out. I don't get anything for that.
Yeah,
But
it's
I love the
crazy.
fact that like now if I go and I make some content, that's mine. Like if I share it, if we do a collaboration, it's ours. So we can make
Yeah.
that money off it. We have the rights to go make the money from it. I absolutely love that.
I do too. And yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Just the owning of it and I'll continue to profit off of content that I've made a couple years ago, right? As people purchase it and whatever. And
Yeah.
you can, like you said, you can make a compilation. Like it just gives you so much freedom around it.
Yeah, it does. And you mentioned you just earlier that, you was a teacher, you were broke. And did you like what was like the lowest point, financially from where you are now? You was there and now you're here. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. We've actually filed bankruptcy when we were teachers, and had a car repossessed. And so, like, it wasn't just like me
Ah,
saying, like, oh, we didn't have a lot of money. Like, no, we were like broke, broke, broke. Like, our house flooded and we were homeless, filed bankruptcy, had a car repossessed. I remember one time being on the phone with Wells Fargo, like, can we have 9 overdraft charges? Like, can we take off like even like 6 of those charges, which I think those are terrible to do to people, overdraft charges, but that's a whole nother topic. And so we were like really struggling, like picking which bill are we going to pay, like electric, we got to do that. Or one time, to feed our 4 kids and two or three dogs, we had $20 for the week. And I went to the grocery store and was like trying to figure out like how to make that work. It's very financially strapped, and we got
Mm,
very creative selling my content. My husband drove for Uber. We were doing like our coaching. I would sell things on like OfferUp and like just different things to like trying it before when we were trying to get like businesses going to
yeah.
now. TMZ did an article about me a year ago that said from bankrupt school teacher to OnlyFans millionaire. And so things are much, much better now.
Yeah, it is. It's like finding something. And sometimes our life, we have journeys that we have to go on, and we experience different things. And when you're like really down there, once you come up, it gives you that appreciation for everything that
Yeah,
you've got now.
yeah.
And like I didn't struggle as a parent because I didn't become a parent until late, so I'd established my career. But as a child, my mom, she was a single parent, 3 kids.
Mhm.
She worked nights, so the next door neighbor's kids
Oh,
used to come in and sit with us. And like, in England, you got like free school meals if were on a low income. And like, it, I didn't know what it was like to be like, oh, I think I'm going to get like loads of candy or chocolate. It was just like, okay, there's your box of treats for the week. And when they're gone, they're gone.
they're
And
gone. Yeah.
yeah,
I was broke as a child too.
yeah. You appreciate things, though, don't you, when you're older, when you don't have something and then now you have the ability to have it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
It's
what I was like. I want to teach my kids to be, to have money and what that feels like and experience it and also be intentional, right? Like we don't need to just blow it because we have it, but like, is this something we love and desire? I took him to see Aladdin last night, the play here in Broadway,
Was
and it
it
was a
good?
great
Was
time.
it
It
good?
was so good.
I
So
I'm
good.
gonna tell you, I'm gonna see it tomorrow in the
It's
Pantages in Los
yeah,
Angeles. So
yeah.
I'm going.
It was
Is it
so
good?
good. So we went and saw that, and the youngest one picked out a teddy bear at the merch shop, and the oldest one picked out a sweater with their money that they had earned from doing their chores. And as we were walking out, there was an unhomed man with 2 dogs, and my kids immediately looked at me and were like, "Do you have money?" And I did. And so they immediately like walked over and handed them the man money. And I was like, that is
Oh,
what I want. Like, I want my kids to get to do amazing things in life and have fun and get to have experiences and be giving human beings that see somebody going through a hard time and be like, how can we help?
yeah, that's lovely. That you've definitely
Yeah.
got some kids with big hearts.
Yes. Yes.
Just
That is,
shows parenting.
yep, definitely.
Uh, and I want to talk to you because you mentioned all your training and your education, and you being a teacher and you being an OnlyFans content creator. But what is the thing that's been teaching you to run a successful business? Is it the education? Is it the actual experience?
I always say, because so I have a bachelor's, a master's, and I was a year away from my PhD before I dropped out and was like, what am I even doing? So I have all this schooling under my belt, and I have learned so much more from running an OnlyFans than I ever did from going to college. And granted, on their behalf, I wasn't going to school for business, and so I didn't get those like specific classes or courses. However, just like the marketing of yourself, the building connections with people, putting yourself out there, creating offers, websites, things like that. Um, I've learned so much more from running an OnlyFans.
That's interesting. People would be like, "Oh, you're not going to learn anything. You're just uploading content," but it's not. They don't realize that it's
It's not, that's like
everything.
this much of the puzzle.
It's like everything. It's the back end. It's the editing of the content. It's the storing of it. It's the accounts. It's the, like you say, the marketing, the advertising, the collaborations. It's a whole business, and
Yeah,
you've got to be like focused, and you've got to be wanting to like run it professionally.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
There's
I love
millions and millions of creators on there. I think it was on Dr. Phil that he said the average OnlyFans account is making like $150 a month. something like that, some around that number. And granted, that's also calculating in people who created accounts and never did anything with it, right? That were just like, oh,
Right.
this is a
Yeah.
fun idea, and then whatever, didn't do anything. So, like, it does take effort and time and
Hmm.
energy and a thought process and marketing of yourself to get yourself out there in front of people. And to be able to have the confidence in yourself to put yourself out there with our own insecurities and things, and to put yourself in front of an audience, I think is remarkable.
It is because we're putting ourselves there, and like the fans, like they'll be the first to comment on something if they don't like something, or they don't
Yeah.
like the way that this looks, or you used to look like that, or for me, I've been in the industry for like 15 years, and they're like, "You're old," and I'm like, "Well, hey Sherlock, it was 15 years since I started in the industry, so I am going to be older." And they can be really like rude about things,
Do you get that on your OnlyFans or like just social media in general?
social media in general, but occasionally inside my OnlyFans DMs, I get stuff and they're like kind of aggressive. Not very often because that's not I don't encourage it and I put a stop to it. So it's not
Yeah.
very often. But I'll say to them that that's not an appropriate way to talk to me. And then if they keep going, I'll be like, I'm gonna take away the facility for you to direct message me.
Yeah.
And if they do it again, it's like restrict.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, okay, now we're done with that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that was a waste. I think some people just come on to troll or just because they have their own issues, their own personal issues inside. So they redirect it at people.
Uh-huh.
They're redirected at the people that they're supposed to be fans of. Um,
Yeah.
it's more their insecurities, I'm sure.
Yeah. I get more of that on social media than I do my OnlyFans. I
Mm,
feel like people like praise me and celebrate me on there. And
yeah.
I've had thousands and thousands of subscribers. Like my free page has over 62,000 subscribers
Wow,
on it.
that's a
And so
lot.
like the amount of people that I've needed to restrict is like a handful, 10,
Yeah.
12. And if you think about how many people have come in, and that's that are still there, obviously people expire or delete accounts
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah.
That number is so low in the big scheme of things. And so like
Yeah.
I feel like typically people think that, you know, on OnlyFans you put yourself out there in this vulnerable way and you're just going to get attacked all the time. And I have found it to be the opposite. I find I get more attacked on like Instagram or Twitter, or TikTok
Mm.
more than I do my OnlyFans.
Yeah, I think once they go through like, the sign up process, it takes a little bit longer. You can't just be an easy troll. You've
Yeah.
got to like go through a
You gotta
few
be a dedicated
steps.
troll.
There are dedicated strollers out there. But you're right. I love it. I love that our fans are out there. They support us, they celebrate us, they encourage us. And, without our fans, we're nothing.
Yeah,
So I'm always so appreciative of them.
I am
Um,
too. Yeah.
Talk to me about Dr. Phil. You just mentioned Dr. Phil. What was that about?
Yeah. So they contacted me, and they were like, "We want to have you on a segment about women's empowerment. Will you get on a call with us?" And I was like, "I'll get on a call with you, but let me tell you what, I'm not going on that show to be belittled or like torn apart by Dr. Phil." And they're like, "No, no, 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 just get on. That's not going to happen. Just like take the call." So I took the call with the producer, and I was like, "I really love this producer. Is like so sweet and kind, and was like very encouraging." She's like, "It's not like that. He's not like that. The show format is totally different." And I was like, "Okay." So we started doing more, and they're like, "Can you send us a piece of like an introduction of yourself?" And so my husband and I did that, and then they created an entire segment about us and our story. And to be honest, it was the most incredible experience. Like the staff and the crew and everybody who worked for the show were amazing people, so kind and generous. Dr. Phil was asked very simple questions, almost like yes, no, like you like doing this. And I thought that he would be kind of anti OnlyFans sex workers.
Yeah.
And he actually kind of seemed to, he never really said his viewpoint either way. But the
Mhm.
reason I think that he kind of sided with us was actually he brought on a woman from, I think she was from New Zealand, who has decriminalized sex work there and talking about how beautiful it's been and how it's made it safer and people are getting testing and open communication. And so he was bringing on experts that kind of sided with us. And so I was like,
Nice.
he's very much, it was amazing. It was a really great
Yeah.
experience.
And I love that, a lot of the stories in the media, they can be very negative. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people that don't like the adult industry for whatever reason, and they
Yeah.
make a lot of a lot of noise. It's a small
Yeah.
amount of people, but they make a big noise,
Yeah.
like belittling us or berating us or telling stories about us
Yeah.
that they don't really know the facts. So it's nice
Yeah.
that a mainstream platform has gone, you know what, let's get someone in. Let's get someone in that uses the platform, that is, is a positive speaker for women, that is going to
Yeah.
tell people women can be empowered.
Yeah. Yeah. It was amazing. I actually wished that we had more time to film and talk about it on the actual show because we were just really getting into it and showing like how beautiful and empowering and owning our content and using our voice that it really is.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm so glad that happened for you and for
Yeah.
everyone as
Thank
well.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you were religious,
Mhm.
as a child, and you know, I consider myself to be spiritual and religious,
Same.
but I also think people are afraid to talk about their beliefs, what they believe in. And I know that it was mentioned in the media, and it was the headline kind of was, God told you to be a porn star. That was
Yeah.
the headline. So,
Yeah.
what was that? What got said, and what was the
Yeah.
outrage?
Uh, the outrage is crazy. I actually pitched that article because I feel that it's true for me. Like I had started modeling and like I said, when I grew up as a in a Christian household about middle school time frame, taught Sunday school and like very much bought into like the rules and all the things about it. And so with that is that like porn stars are terrible people going to hell and that like they're doing terrible things and sinning all the time. And I bought into that. And so it was like shoot after shoot that I was at that it was like these girls were like porn stars. And it made me keep questioning this like thing that religion had told me because again, they were these kindest, most generous people, like take anything out of my suitcase that you would want to wear, use my makeup, like just I was like, I'm confused because church told me this and my experience is completely different. And I just felt like it was like God kept telling me, like I kept finding myself in these situations with porn stars and it was like really have forcing me to like look at this thing that I was told. And so along the journey, it's just like the more that I've created content and dove into my own sexuality, I've come out as bi. I was like, God is calling me to explore my sexuality, to show that there's no shame in sex, in who you are, in our bodies, and to show the world that we can have sex and pleasure and believe in God. Like it doesn't need to be this separate thing. And I think we have a lot of trauma in the world and specifically the United States because we have such this like shame around sex and it doesn't
Hmm.
keep us from doing it. We're still doing it, but we have this like shame and judgment about it that just creates this like terrible culture.
Hmm. We all have different beliefs,
Yeah.
but I love doing what I'm doing, and it
Mhm.
feels right for me to do it.
Yeah.
And I always think, if there is a God, or there's a universe, or there's something
Yeah.
out there, whatever people believe in, well, are porn stars doing harm? Are we harming ourselves? Are we harming other people? In my opinion, no.
No.
And
I
it's
agree.
if God didn't want God didn't want us to do this, well, why does it feel so natural? Why is it so good? Why do people enjoy it? Why is people partaking in it? There is the other side of things where you can do too much of something. I get
Sure.
that and I accept that. And there are things where people are doing sex when maybe it's not the right thing for them or they feel pressured
Sure.
into it. I accept that as well.
Yeah.
But in a general, like, God's not there. Like, we're still alive. We're not being burnt at the stake. We're still alive, and we're here on this earth to enjoy ourselves.
Yeah. I
And
do believe that's why we were created. And
yeah,
we have 8,000 nerve endings in our clit alone. And so if we weren't created to have pleasure, then why did God, universe, or whatever you believe create it like that? If it wasn't
yeah,
supposed to feel good, the nerve endings would be somewhere else or not there at
yeah.
all.
That's so true. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Why did God give me this pleasurable piece down there?
Yeah, I'm
Because
supposed to
it was
enjoy that. That's why it's
made to
there.
pleasure. But when it was going on in the media, and then there's a guy, and I get his name gets brought up to me sometimes because my surname is Tate.
Mm,
And then there's a male in the media with the same surname, Tate. And sometimes, like, people will be, especially on my live stream, something Andrew Tate, and I'm like, why are you even mentioning his name on here? Because for me, I'm totally where me and him are totally completely different. We
so
are
different.
not the same. We are not the same type of people. I am all loving, all giving, encouraging. Express yourself how you feel, and do not be judgmental, and love people for what they are. Like, that is
Amen.
that is that is my
Yeah.
view. And then there's this man, and I don't go into detail and I don't look at some of the stuff, but just the headlines sometimes that pop up at me, and it makes me feel very uncomfortable because I'm like, the
Yeah.
underlying message doesn't fit with the person that I am. And
Hmm.
then he's tweeting something about you, that he's one of the reasons he converted to Islam. So what was that
Yes.
about, Courtney?
He saw the article. He didn't read the article. He clearly just looked at the headline of it and said that I was one of the reasons he had turned to Islam. People are quick to judge, and people, if you actually read the article was beautiful. I did the interview. It's my words. And the title's a little clickbaity, but like I respect that and I
Mm,
get that. And
yep.
so, but if people read the article, they'd be like, "Oh, I understand what she's saying or understand what she's doing or whatever." And actually, the Breakfast Club had me to be the donkey of the day, and they read I actually had read the article, and I'm the first one in Donkey of the Day history that didn't get the Donkey of the Day because they read it and were like, I totally get and understand what she's saying and what she's doing, and I respect that. People are gonna hate and criticize and have their judgments based on whatever their beliefs, but I know the truth about me. I know the impact that I have, and I know my
Mhm.
mission, and so that's what I'm sticking towards that.
Yeah, it's so good. But on the flip side of it, like, that tweet alone had like over 18 million impressions, and
Yeah,
it was like
it's
over
crazy.
7,000 retweets. So you're like, okay, so I guess he lives off like throwing stuff out on the internet
He
that's
does.
might not
He
be
just
so
throws,
kind.
yeah, he just throws stuff out there.
Yeah, and actually it ended up being that you got a lot of hits over it. And
Yeah.
when that was going on, did you see a lot of new signups on your OnlyFans?
Oh yeah. It was a great month for me. It was great. I actually had somebody come up to me in the gym this week and he was like, Courtney, I don't think you realize because you don't always get tagged in it, but people are still talking about that article or bringing up that article. And he's like, you're viral in the media all the time because people are like, he's like, they're just still talking about all the things. And I'm like, great. I love it. Keep talking, say whichever you want. When the media first came out about it actually started in the Daily Star on Friday. And it didn't have a ton of traction, didn't really see much from it. I thought the article had kind of died out, and I was on my way to Disneyland with my kids, and my Google alerts was going crazy. And I was getting like DMs, and I don't follow Andrew on the internet. I don't like the person. But people had started sending me screenshots of it, and I was like, oh my goodness. And so on Monday, I was like, say whatever you want because the subscribers are rolling in, the media is flowing. I'm getting like requests to do news interviews and radio shows. And so I'm like, say whatever you want. Tuesday morning, I woke up and it's still like just viral crazy.
Mhm.
And I felt so misunderstood by the world because I was like, if any of you guys would have actually read the article and understood me, instead you're like hating on me or making assumptions about me or assuming or having all this hate. And I was like, I know that all the hate is their stuff, but I just woke up and I was like, wow, I it's not even just a small community that is misunderstanding me. It's like the whole world is like having things to say. And so I talked to my husband about it and we worked through it. And on Wednesday, I was like, great, say whatever you want again, because the money is still rolling in and so are the subscribers. And in the end, I want people to release the shame about sex and sex and God specifically.
Mhm.
And so then Candace Owens made a video about me, and then the Breakfast Club did a video, and so it's continued to be a huge topic, and
Mhm.
I love it because in the end it gets people discussing and thinking about it, and I continue to get my message out there.
Yeah. No, that's great. Having a situation where you think, okay, this is really bad, this is really negative, because Andrew Tate has a lot of followers and they have very
Yes.
strong views.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine that your timeline was filled with a lot of hate and
Yeah.
like trolls and people that were
Yeah.
saying things at you that they didn't know you, like you say, they didn't read the article. How was that? I know you had your husband and you could sit down, you could talk to him, but did that affect you mentally?
Yeah. I think I was energetically trying to shut it down because I was like, enough. Like my DMs are full, the hate, I'm seeing it everywhere, people are DMing it to me. And I do a really good job. Like I don't go through the comments of things, and like I really try and keep away from it. Um, but it was hard that day. I was like really sad about it because if you actually people who know me know I'm kind, I'm loving, I'm very generous, and for people to hate me without knowing me had a feeling for me. Like I'm very empathetic, and I was
Mm,
like, I don't like
mm,
having so many people hate me or talk such mean things about me. And then I was like, you know what? It's okay. One, that's their stuff, right? We
yeah,
can say it over and over again. That's their stuff.
yeah.
And I really want to be able to stay strong because I really, really believe in who I am, what I'm doing. I'm not going to change. You can say whatever you want. I'm not going to change what I'm doing. And
Hmm.
I really want to help people. And I get so many DMs from around the world that are like, thank you for being you. Thank you for showing us, there's a way. Thank you for showing us it's okay to be a mom and be sexy. Thank you for showing us that you can own your own business or express yourself. Like so many things that I have an impact on. And I was like, you're not going to stop me. Your hateful words are not going to stop me.
Yeah, because you're doing what you love and you're being successful at it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it is. And I know you are not afraid to use your voice and speak out for other content creators. And
Yes.
there was something that was going on, and it was major news at the time where OnlyFans were gonna do this big 180 turnaround, and they were not going to allow people to share explicit content. Although
Hmm.
OnlyFans was built on the basis of people sharing explicit content, fans don't
Yes.
really go to OnlyFans to watch a cooking show, a naked cooking show, yeah, a regular cooking show. I really don't
No,
think so.
we're going to the Food
So
Network for that.
yeah, exactly. So, there was this ban going on. So how were you involved in the victory to
Mm.
stop that OnlyFans ban?
Yeah, so when the news came out, I was actually at a shoot and my husband had sent me a screenshot of like this thing. And so we immediately like started pitching and we were like interview an OnlyFans girl and see. And I was like, this is one, so many of us have built our livelihood on this. For
Yeah.
me, I can pivot. I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own life coaching business too. I'll be fine either way. But there's so many women, single moms, that this is their livelihood, that have put their kids in better schools. There's so many people who are paying for their parents to get healthcare or treatment or retirement communities. There's so many things that this money is being used for, that to help people, that I'm like, you're not going to take this away from people, especially after you've built it on all of our backs.
Mhm.
Um, and so the New York Post contacted me and they were like, can you do an article? So I did an article. It's actually this one right here. And it says,
Oh,
let's
right above
just
your
be
head.
fair. Yep.
Nice.
It's actually printed in the paper too. Not, it was an article online, obviously, and then also printed. And I was like, you're not going to take this away from people and come out here. There's a couple things that upset me about it. One, he didn't go to the creators first. He went to the media first and was like, we're getting rid of explicit content. Two, what is explicit content? Because what
Mhm.
you may think is explicit and what I may think is explicit could be totally different. It's very generalized. Nobody actually knew what it meant for themselves or their content.
It's very
And I was like,
confusing.
yeah, and as a business owner, like if there's something going on in my business that may directly impact my employees, I'm going to tell them, here's what's happening. I'm having a hard time getting MasterCard and Visa to pay out. I'm working on it, but I just need you to know that this is kind of what's happening. If that was
Mhm.
true for him, then that's the approach that you take as a business owner. But he
Mhm.
didn't. He went to the media. And so I went to the media and I was like, you're not going to treat us like this. You're not going to do this to us.
Mhm.
And then he went back to the New York Post and was like, I'm trying to protect people like Tillia. And I was like, you're not, because if you were, and so I went back to the New York Post after he did that and was like, if you were trying to protect us, you would do things. And then it was the next day that he was like, we reversed the ban.
Nice.
And so
That
it
was
was
that.
like a 72-hour period that him and I were going back and forth. We never have spoken to each other, but we were just going through the New York Post at each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a massive thing. So I'm so glad, Courtney, that you were one of those people that were
Yeah.
really making a stand, because it's okay, us as the industry going, oh, that's not okay. But we
Yeah.
have to get it out there in the media. The media have to
Yes.
publish our thoughts and our beliefs and
Yes.
like have our opinion posted.
Mhm.
Like this is how we feel. So for you to be that voice that was talking for us, that's amazing. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Of course.
I really have to thank you for that.
Yeah. I was like, there's so many people who can't use their voice, don't know how to use their voice, don't feel
Mhm.
safe using their voice, and we're just gonna be like, okay, I guess this is just what it is. And I was like, no,
Mhm.
I'm gonna speak up for everybody's behalf because
Yeah,
that's
thank you.
unacceptable.
Yeah.
And because like they take 20% of everything. I would
Yeah.
say how like if you order Uber Eats and you tip your driver, the driver gets 100% of that tip, right? You tip $10, they get $10. OnlyFans, you get tips. They take 20% of that too. They're taking 20% of every dollar that is made.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
you've made a lot of money off of us. Like, treat us well.
Yeah. I think if that had gone ahead, OnlyFans probably would not be existing right now.
I agree.
It'd be like MySpace.
Bye.
Bye
Yeah.
bye. And
Yeah.
everyone would have found somewhere else that really would have worked, and something would have just blown up and replaced it.
Yep.
So,
I agree.
it's, but OnlyFans is a different, it is a different lifestyle. It is a different kind of job. And there are people that are listening now that are being like, okay, like, is OnlyFans for me? Is it something
Yeah.
that I can do? I'm in a career, I'm bored. It's really not helpful. I feel sad. There's negative feelings. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. There's a lot of things that people might be going through their heads. So is OnlyFans for everyone?
Yes and no. So, yes, I think it can be a great place to express yourself, to make money, to have fun, to heal. For me, it's been a very healing experience. Well, who is it not for? People like my friend was going through some mentally hard times and she was like, I need to stop the platform. And I was like, yes, it's not a good fit for you at this time. And
Mm.
that's okay. I don't think it's for somebody that maybe doesn't feel good. I don't even want to say that doesn't feel good about themselves because, like, honestly, I feel like it boosts your confidence a lot too. Um, but I think career wise, I have an OnlyFans training course where I walk people through from the very beginning of literally signing up for it to marketing yourselves to I have a whole new segment in there specifically for teachers, but it can be anybody in a career oriented place where you want to hide your identity, but you want to be able to express yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many ways of doing it where you could just be like, I don't want to show any nudity, but I want to make some side money and I feel really good about my feet and things like that. Or people who don't show any identifying things, like they take their head and their hair out of it and things like that. My thing is, what I would suggest, if you are thinking, could this be for me? Is this something that I might want to enjoy and embark on? Take my course. It's about 2 hours long in 2 different segments and see, like, does this feel exciting and fun and something maybe I would like to try? Or is this something that I don't feel mentally and emotionally ready for, that I feel like it's traumatizing me or
Mm-hmm.
it just isn't a good fit for me? That's great too.
I love that. So it's knowing that you're in the right place. You've got to
Yeah.
be strong because it
Yeah.
can, we've talked just in this show alone about there are some negative effects by being in the
Sure.
media. So you've got to be strong enough to kind of just not let them affect you, just bat them away and be ready to be exposed. You're going to expose, it's very intimate. You're exposing yourself
Yeah.
and you can't change it because,
Yeah.
once you put a photo out there of yourself, someone's going to take it. And at some point, it's probably going to get posted on a pirated website, on a free forum somewhere. So
Yeah.
there's always going to be a fingerprint of you naked out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I love that you've got this course that it's, because people like it's a minefield. Like, where do you get started? How do you get to do it?
Yeah.
Are you gonna how are you gonna take that jump from that career that you're doing it? A lot of teachers are changing careers, other professionals are changing careers. Why? How are you gonna do it?
Yeah.
And the fact that, you've got something there that's ready, been there, tried, tested, and I love it. It's also about sharing advice and information with other content creators
Yeah.
and other women.
Yeah.
Let's
That's what
let's
it's for. And
give
it's
it
cheap
back.
too. Like it's like $30. Like I'm not trying to like make some crazy profit on this. I literally just want to help people and see like if it's a good fit for you or if it's not. And like I said, either one's fine. And I always say too, like what you and I do is more on the extreme side, but you can be on there. And when I first started, I didn't show any nudity. Like everything was implied. And every step along the way has been very intentional for me where I was just like, okay, I'm ready to be topless. I like that. And so, but I do have friends who don't really show anything and they're making a killing too. So you don't have to show nudity. Obviously, it's the platform's known for that. You may get requests for that,
Mhm.
but you always get to hold your boundary of what feels good and true for you. If it doesn't feel good to you, please don't do it.
Yeah. And that's just great words of advice for us to
Yeah.
just, I think that sounds like a really good wrap there.
Yeah.
We got it
Perfect.
all in. Is there anything else that you want to tell the viewers, the listeners?
I don't, not that's coming to mind. We've covered a lot of stuff.
I love it. We got through so much stuff because you had so much stuff to share.
Yeah.
And I just, I wanted it to be about today, about, people that are listening, how do you get started and just being empowered
Yeah.
and just knowing that you can make a career from it. You can get
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
And there are people like us that are out there that are ready to help them.
Absolutely.
So
To-
I
totally.
I really appreciate you so much,
Thank
Courtney
you.
Tillia. Tell everyone, where can they find you online?
Yeah, CourtneyTillia.com has everything, social medias, that course, my OnlyFans, of course, everything is there.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming on the show.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. I
Yay.
had a great time.
Thank you, me too.
Yay.
This is Tanya Tate, Skinfluencer